We cashed on Adam Fugit, who was a dog of the night candidate. We also had Joshua Van, but that fight ended up falling out on weigh-in day. And then our actual dog of the night playing Alex Perez had a very good start as he won the first round on all three judges' scorecards, and then unfortunately injured his knee in the second round with Tyra using this standing back take, and kind of dropped to the ground with that weird leverage that he had, injuring the leg of Alex Perez. So that's kind of just been the luck that we've been having with our dog of the night plays here, having to take another L. We did take an L on the PFL dog of the night play as well. It's escaping me off the top of my head who it actually was. But again, really not good times for the dog of the night play. I've been struggling to find those dogs to actually give that dog of the night moniker to. We've hit some dogs, but I just not given them the title of dog of the night. So let's see if we can get that changed here. So this past weekend, 0-2, minus 2 units, minus 100% ROA on the dog of the night play. And then in terms of the year now, 20-45 for minus 14.71 units and a minus 23% ROI. Really got to rein this bad boy in. All right, I got 3 dog of the night candidates for you guys here. Reminder, there is PFL and Bellator this weekend as well, which I'll be dropping full card breakdowns for you guys, so keep your eyes peeled for that. The PFL one should be out today. It probably dropped the day before as well, so check out the YouTube page to see if it's already dropped. And then Bellator, hopefully by Thursday, I should be able to get that out for you guys, as that event is going down on Saturday. And then lastly, we also have LFA going down on Saturday. I'll have written breakdowns for those on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. Make sure you guys check that out. Link in the description below. All right, 3 dog of the night candidates for this weekend's UFC Saudi Arabia card. I can only pick one as the official dog of the night candidate. I'll also have that posted on the MMA LOTN Patreon page. Link in the description below. So let's get right into it. First candidate up is going to be Kang, who comes in at plus 140 as he takes on Muin Gafarov. This is a matchup where Gafarov will likely be looking to take this fight to the ground and assert his wrestling dominance. But we've seen some very good things from Kang in the past in terms of specifically his last fight against Jean Castaneda. Even though he got 30-27 that night, I thought it was a pretty competitive fight where we saw Kang utilize his get-ups and his ability to work back to his feet and utilize his range and slick striking down the pipe. Castaneda was just very aggressive in terms of landing those shots, mixing in the takedowns. It was a very rough night for Kang in terms of getting off enough success to actually get this the rounds scored in his favor. But in this fight, Gafarov is a little bit more wild and reckless than Castaneda, which should leave some openings for Kang to actually land straight shots down the pipe, maybe even threaten with some submissions, as we saw Said Nurmagomedov very successful with against Gafarov last time around. Kang, very underrated jiu-jitsu game, and I think that could come into play here. And also, I think Kang has the better gas tank, so if Gafarov starts sucking wind here, I think it's going to be very tough for him to have success later on in this matchup. So Kang, I think, is a solid underdog shot at plus 140 against the guy in Gafarov, who I think is a little bit overrated, if I'm being honest. The second dog of the night candidate is going to be a pretty unpopular one, it seems like, here in Joilton Lutterbach, who comes in at plus 200. You're talking about a guy with over 48 fights of professional MMA experience, and not to mention a myriad of kickboxing and karate and boxing, combat karate, all this striking experience as well. But also he's a BJJ black belt, judo black belt, and a black belt in luta livre, knowing that he should be able to take fights to the ground, which is something he should be able to do here against Shara Magomedov. I've seen people kind of rag on the regional competition that Lutterbach has been fighting, but sprinkled in there are matches against legitimate opponents. So yes, he's had a lot of can-crushing moments throughout his career, but he's also had some very competitive matchups against very qualified and competitive and legit guys. So I'm not fully reading into the fact that he's just been strictly a can crusher. And just looking off his tape alone, this guy is very dangerous and very difficult to deal with. He has good enough striking to be competitive with Magomedov in the striking realm, but seeing how Magomedov dealt with a striker grappling him last time around in Bruno Silva, now you actually have a legitimate BJJ black belt who has been successful with taking opponents to the ground and submitting them. He could be able to do that here against Magomedov. So, when Magomedov's throwing strikes off of his back, I think Lutterbach will be utilizing those moments to start passing the guard and try to get to more dominant positions where he could potentially pull off a submission of his own. So at plus 200, this obviously odds reliant here. I think that's a solid spot to go out there and try to fade Shara Magomedov, who I think his his persona is kind of overshadowing his actual skill set here. He was can crushing a lot on the regional scene as well. Let's not overlook that aspect of it either. But I think, just the menacing look of him and the fact that he's just, a flashy striker at times have a lot of people going goo goo gaga over this guy a little bit more than they should. He's a fun fighter. I, hope for nothing but success for him. But I think Lutterbach is a very dangerous underdog to try to overlook here in this spot. So I'm going to go Lutterbach as the second dog of the night candidate. The third dog of the night candidate might actually end up being a favorite by fight time, as we've seen a lot of action in and out on Philipe Lima, who's making his short notice UFC debut here. He comes in at plus 100 going up against Mohamed Naimov. Now Lima is on a 12-fight winning streak. He only lost his first ever professional fight. He is the current and now former OKTAGON bantamweight champion who was set to defend his title against the guy that he wanted against last year. He was scheduled for July, but was given this opportunity by the UFC, and OKTAGON released him, allowing him to take this opportunity, and now he's coming in up a weight class, going up against a guy he has a very winnable style against. He's the slicker striker. He has good enough grappling from his BJJ to his wrestling, and I think that training with the guys that he does over there at the All-Stars team gym in Sweden, alongside Khamzat Chimaev, Guram Kutladze, Josephine Knudsen, Bernardo Sopai, formerly Alexander Gustafsson, probably not so much with Gustafsson as of recently, but he's fully switched over to Sweden in 2020, and it's worked wonders for him. He's beaten some legitimate opponents on the regional scene as well. So I think he is better than Naimov. The only concern I would say is Naimov having a size advantage here, and that could play into the grappling. Naimov could have some success with his wrestling and holding Lima down, but I think Lima has a good enough get-up game and jiu-jitsu game off of his back to make it very difficult for Naimov. And I also think Naimov has a little bit of a cardio issue as well that Lima might be able to exploit. So at plus 100, no-brainer underdog shot here on the UFC newcomer who could do very big things in the bantamweight division once he goes back down to that 135-pound weight class and gets a full training camp to do so. But this is a good spot for him to start off on the right foot with the UFC. Which of these three dogs do I end up going with? Check the Lock of the Night Patreon page for that, and you guys can see all the plays and breakdowns and all the fun stuff that I got going on there. You guys can check it out. MMA LOTN Patreon, a link in the description below. All right, I will be back tomorrow for the quick picks version of the UFC Saudi Arabia card, not to mention obviously PFL and Bellator breakdowns coming your way as well. So stay tuned to the YouTube page. There's a ton of content dropping. I'll see you guys then. Peace.